Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.
Hi there, and welcome to Better Than Not, the podcast that aims to capture shifting perspectives and thought-provoking ideas in conversation. Based loosely on my Substack series, A Changing Frame of Reference, which you can read on Substack, the app, if you like. It might give you some insight into what the podcast is all about. I'm Doug Gardam, I'm the host, and today I'm kind of excited to welcome, just kind of though, excited to
Yeah,
welcome
don't oversell it there, Doug.
my
I'm barely
friend,
rolling out of bed excited.
one of my oldest friends, actually, I think, Scott Stewart, comic Scott Stewart. Scott, how are you?
Very good, Doug. I'm turning 100 years old this month. That's why I'm your oldest friend.
Yeah, I was just like, as I said that, I'm kind of thinking, okay, like exactly, I probably met you somewhere around 14, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that would kind of make it close to 100 years old.
Yeah, exactly. That's that
Anyway,
new math the kids are doing.
so welcome,
Woo-hoo.
welcome. Glad to have you
Thank
back.
you.
Scott was the first podcast I did as a video back around number 50, 51, I think. So we haven't come back.
Yeah.
And this is the one to kind of come back on. So I
Yeah.
was kind of saying, and I wanted to get something started because we met back in Markham, Ontario, Canada, for all those international people. And I thought it'd be kind of neat to ask, like, do you remember your first, can you remember like one of your first memories of Markham? Because you weren't born in Markham, right?
No. I remember the absolute first memory of Markham. My dad purchased property by the high school, and we drove up there. And I don't know why, but we drove to the cemetery by the high school. We went in the cemetery, and my dad was digging plots for us. And he said, "You have two choices. You can either jump in there now, or you can live in this home in Markham." So I chose the home in Markham. No, I think the reason why we went there was you could see across the valley. There's like a little ravine there. And we looked across the ravine and we could see our future house. And I think that's why he did it. Other than that, it could have been that he had no idea where it was and he thought it was around there somewhere. That's what I'm guessing.
So is this a memory or is this a dream?
No, it's a memory. Yeah.
So how old would you have been?
I would have been about 74 at that time. I was a little old for my age.
It's gonna be one of those days.
No, I would have been I'm gonna say 7-ish. Yeah,
7. Okay.
Do you ever notice when people give you late ages, they always give you two numbers? I was either 6 or 7. Like they don't ever say I was 7 or I was around. It was between. I was like 6 or 7.
Because I don't think they remember.
Exactly. And they give you that extra number, making it more authentic. It's like if you just say 7, it seems like, really, you can remember that? But if you go 6 or 7, they go, yeah, that's doable. That's doable.
Oh, wow. So that's when you first kind of were there.
Had awareness of Markham.
There?
Yeah. Had awareness of Markham. I don't even think they told us we were going there. I just remember being in that graveyard and then kind of looking across the ravine too. And it's like, that's where our house is going to be, way over there.
So when did you like physically move there?
We moved there in 1969, the year that I helped write Bryan Adams, that summer of 1969. I wrote that song with him in 1969. And so we moved there. And the crazy thing was, like, my dad was really handy and he built a lot of the house. Due to time constraints or whatever, however our house in Scarborough sold, we lived in a trailer in a muddy backyard for months and months and months. I can't even remember how long it was. Maybe I'm just trying to block it out of my brain.
No, that's true. That's a true story.
Yes, it is. We lived there in the trailer.
I never knew that.
I didn't know it until I was older either. You know how you have those flashback memories.
So you do actually remember living in that trailer in between residences?
Yeah. So we were living in the backyard of the house. The house was being built. We lived in a trailer,
Oh,
and
in
the
the
thing
back.
I remember, the
Okay.
thing I remember about it was that it was muddy because it's a construction site. So we were living on the construction site in our backyard in a trailer. You know, like one of those things where the
Yep.
table folds into your bed, that kind of thing. And then
Wow.
from there, we moved into the basement, and there was a lot of plastic for windows and stuff like that when we moved in.
I didn't know your dad built the house, but I also didn't know like you literally were the first ones in your house.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
that's like in 69, 70.
It was the summer of '69.
The summer of 69. No,
Yeah,
no two numbers this time.
yeah.
It was
Actually, it wasn't the summer. It was more like the fall, winter kind of thing. But it sounds
wow.
better, summer of
So
'69.
were you already going to school?
N- uh, I don't think so. I think it was the following. Oh, that doesn't make sense on the math of that. I had gone to kindergarten in Scarborough, and
Okay, okay.
then moved to Markham, and I don't know the exact dates and everything. Um, so I remember going to grade 1. I remember my mom walking me along to the school on the
Oh,
first day.
you remember that the
Yeah, I
first day.
do. It was just kind of weird. It was like a fall day. You know, pants were all tight because they were all brand new and stuff, and just kind of walking
Oh
along.
wow. That
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. So
And,
so
and I remember the joy in my mom's heart dropping us off at the school, not having to see us for like a couple hours. Have fun, boys!
so that's you and your next in line brother
Yeah, he was
Cam.
younger, so I think it was just me going at that point. He could
Uh,
have been tagging along because, you know, when you're a parent, you just
yeah,
bring your kids
you're
everywhere.
just doing that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting, right? Wow,
Yeah.
that's like that. So this that kind of feels like another lifetime, eh?
Yeah, it feels like someone else's lifetime.
Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I have those some of those because I thought it was kind of neat. I was thinking the other day. I think you knew I did a recent conversation with my dad.
Yes. I
And,
remember your dad. Just let me interject with this. The main thing I remember about your dad was him driving us to hockey games in the LeBaron with the fine Corinthian leather. Welcome to the LeBaron with the fine Corinthian leather. I guess you'd sit in the front seat and I was in the back seat. And I remember your dad like turning around while he was driving a lot, you know, and like looking, and I'm like, eyes on the road, Mr. Gardam. Eyes on the road. We are driving through a snowstorm. So it was a
you
little
remember
crazy.
that because it's funny you say going to hockey games because
Yeah.
that was like I was going to ask you because in one of the last conversations we had, we always thought it was kind of funny that they were named the Markham Millionaires.
Yeah, it was the best name. It was like, look at us, we're filthy rich.
It's like prophetic.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
And I don't live in Markham anymore, so I don't consider I'm not in the millionaire family, but it's just one of those things that kind of works. So do you remember your first hockey memory? Like the first time you had like this is hockey. Do you remember like going out to skate, equipment? Do you remember like what
I
because you
do.
could I have to say this first because you're one of the best skaters I ever knew.
Oh, Doug,
I
come
could
on.
not I can remember going skating.
More. Yeah.
What's and like you would go to the old arena
Yeah.
and like you could literally without looking like you were even moving,
Yeah.
literally do loops around. It seemed like everybody. And it was like you just it was just effortless to you. And I was kind of because I didn't really know well, I knew you then, but when you were really playing hockey, I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
you too well. And it was like after I got to know you, like you're not the guy that I think of as the hockey player,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
No, I know.
you could
Um,
skate like I was a goalie, so like
yeah.
I'm kind of sitting in those flat iron type of bladed skates and like
Yeah, you
they're
just wore slippers back there, I think, in the day.
and but I can remember being like Scott doesn't look like he's moving and he's just flying. Like do you remember like going out to play hockey like
Yeah.
what's one of
Yeah.
your first memories of
Okay,
that?
so I'll answer that question, but first I have a little bit more on your dad's LeBaron.
Okay.
So we're driving down Yonge Street. We're packed in the car in your dad's LeBaron. We go to Burger King and we get crowns. And
Yes.
we're wearing
Yeah.
crowns and we're
Yes.
driving down Yonge Street like around Davisville. and we get pulled over by the police
I
in a
remember that.
LeBaron
I
because it's
remember
so threatening. And I think we'd probably have Q107 blasting in there. And we were like, where are you off to tonight, fellas? Oh, we're just going home, sir, with our Burger King crowns.
we were like so naive then. It's like, and he
Yeah.
was like the most disappointed. Like he was so disappointed, he was almost angry at us because he figured, oh, I got a load foot of drunken teenagers here.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going down, and of course, like, what would we have milkshakes? Like but we
Yeah.
had these stupid crowns on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Now, with regards to the
Now, Dad
skating,
wasn't with
yeah,
us on that occasion.
no, that was you driving the
That was
big
me
beast
driving.
there, flying down Young Street. Yeah,
I forget whether did I get a ticket for that?
yeah, you did. I don't know what it was. I think it was the body we had in the trunk. I kept saying, "Do not allow them to look in the trunk," but it was like I
Yeah,
think a ticket back then was like a dollar or
$15.
$4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something like that, which would still be a lot
So yeah,
proportional.
I do remember that occasion.
Yeah.
We were a little older then, but
Yeah, we were at least 16,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm pretty sure we were 16
Well, I
when that
was. I know
occurred.
I
Yeah,
was.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Um,
yeah.
with
So
reg
so
with
you
regards to the skating,
what's your your
yeah,
skating?
yeah.
Say that.
So first memories was when I was in Scarborough in like kindergarten. So I would have been around 5 or something, and they back in the good old days in parks they would freeze these outdoor
Yep.
rinks.
Yep.
And I remember going there with my dad and him kind of holding my hand and just sort of shuffling along the ice. And then we lived, as I said, we lived in that the top of a ravine. So in the bottom
Yes.
there was ice there, and there was a bridge that went over the river that went to the high school, and it had really good ice there in the winter because it was covered. So I would get my skates and I would go down there and skate around it just like for hours and hours. We also Morgan Park. We also went up there and
Yep.
skated there, and then we would go to the old arena in Markham.
Yep.
We go skating on Friday, public skating on Friday. We go skating on Saturday, Sunday, public skating. We would have hockey games on Saturday and Sunday. We'd also have practices like Saturday morning.
Yep.
Then my dad had us hooked up on another hockey team in Scarborough, and I would get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, drive to Scarborough in the middle of winter. We used to take the tractor or the bobsled. We would take we had the dogs pulling us back then. And then we would go to Scarborough at like, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, play till 8 o'clock. Or no, it must have been earlier. And then we'd get back to school, to public school. So we were literally, my dad had us going all the time. I think basically my dad was looking at us as the as his meal ticket out of there. Let's get those boys in the NHL. And then we would go to like Davy Keon's hockey camp.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And the crazy thing about that is your dad pays all this money to have Davy Keon hockey camp. So you go there and all he does is like you have all these instructors and stuff. You're thinking Davy Keon's going to teach you. So you go out on the ice and then Davy Keon at one point in the whole of the couple of weeks we were there just comes out, skates around a little bit. And then that was it. And we're like, Davy Keon, we skated with Davy Keon. So the point being is that he had us going we were on the ice all the time. And then also too, Locust Hill. I think we talked about that before, right?
Locust
and
Hill.
it's all closing down now. But we used to have, my dad would manage hockey teams and kind of be very present in us with the teams and stuff.
Really?
And he would get all this ice time. Like he would search around, we would drive all over to get ice time for the teams. And one of the ones that we would get because it was really cheap was Locust Hill.
Yeah.
I think it was like back in the day, it was like $4 and you got a free hot chocolate or something. But it was, once again, it was like early morning before school. And it was unbelievably cold there. You'd have to go out, skate around, your feet would freeze up, then you go back inside, warm up, go out, skate around. But he got all these hockey practices and skates. So the point being is that we were skating all the time.
Really? Like I didn't know that. So that's you and Cam primarily.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of ice time then.
Yeah, that's all we were doing. Yep.
How interesting. So was Rolling Hills in that frame too?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That was another rink up, right? And then they had the outdoor rink. I didn't think far from you. Was it Cedar Rink? Like the
Uh,
outdoor rink that was down in the valley, like kind of south of Highway 7 between around 48.
yeah, I'm sure we skated there. Like we literally everywhere, the new arena, the old arena. And then in the summer, we would go to hockey camps and skating, and also did a ton of roller skating. So our
Really?
legs were just like, and then skiing, also did skiing. So I remember like, I would like lie in bed at night and my legs would just kind of move like they were skating. It's
Well,
kind of
I
weird.
just remember, and this is later on, this would be after all the kind of the hockey, and I can remember you, and it was just like you didn't even try. Like it was just crazy to kind of see this,
Yeah.
and I'm going
That
like,
was
I
that
didn't know
was me.
Scott could skate like that.
That was me, Doug. Don't even try.
So
That's
did
how
you go
I.
to the Bobby Orr Owen Sound camp too?
I don't think so. But Bobby Orr was my favorite hockey player, number 4. And
Yes.
the reason I liked him was he was a defenseman and he could walk through.
Oh,
You don't really have that nowadays, but he would take the puck like behind his net and he could skate all the way through the whole team
yeah.
and score a goal. And that was
I
just like, wow.
I read his book, and he
Mhm.
has a chapter in there about how hockey had changed, because he said if he had come up at this point in time,
Yeah,
there's so much focus on winning that nobody can really be creative. They just have to follow the game plan of the
yeah,
coach. And he said he was allowed to do all kinds of stuff that you just wouldn't be allowed to today,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah,
learned how to do it. But he was kind of, when I read that story, Gretzky's got a similar story. Like they had to pull him off wherever the ice was. Like he just
yeah,
skated and played hockey all the time.
yeah, yeah. It's the same thing with Jimi Hendrix. He used to just wear his guitar all the time. Get up in the morning, put it on,
There
and
you
then
go.
play it all the time, and it just
So
becomes kind of a part of you.
so when do you remember that coming to an end?
Yeah, it was
Oh, you
the
do.
night I was arrested, Doug. Um, you can watch that. It's on.
After the
I was on a
crowns and
series of
McDonald's.
props. Yeah, exactly. No, it was just basically when we got to be around like 15, 16, there's that kind of the time where you're deciding and sort of skill levels too, where, in order to move forward. And I think I was making it more about the comedy and the acting at that point.
Oh, you were
And
already in that decision mode.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I wasn't putting as much into it as you needed to do. And yeah, so I think the auditions for like the teams and stuff were just kind of falling by the wayside.
Because
It wasn't like a conscious thing. Well, it probably was at some point because you have to just not drive there. But basically, the idea is that I just went. I think I'm going to go in a different direction.
interesting. Was your
Yeah.
dad disappointed? Do you remember?
From the day I was born, Doug, he said it each and every day, and I've had to drive myself hard each and every day for his love.
Oh, bless Jim.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. JIM, let's go. Hey, so Doug, I want to get to your surprise.
Oh, you got a surprise here for me.
I got a surprise for
So
you.
before we came on, Scott says, I always ask kind of like, so what can we talk about today? And he goes, oh, I have a surprise for you. So
Hmm.
I think you're disappointed that I didn't jump all over it and go, oh, what's your surprise? Oh, what's your surprise?
Yeah, exactly. But I know we're going to edit all this part out anyway and just get straight to the surprise once it starts in there.
So what's your surprise, man?
Okay, so here's the thing. I've been on the podcast. This is my 44th time I've been on the podcast. And it's been nothing but fun. But I realized that we know so little about you, Doug. Little. There's nothing. It's always about me, 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 which I have no problem with. It's kind of my favorite topic, as you might have noticed.
Yes,
And
which is fair.
yeah, I got that from my dad.
Cool.
Anyway, how little we know about you. There's
a tidbit that comes out in every
every
episode.
once in a while, but I think we need the hard-hitting questions. And guess what, Doug? I've got some of those hard-hitting questions so we can find out a little bit more about you, who runs this podcast.
So you
just
did
let me ask the
surprise me.
audience, what do you guys think of that? Is that a good idea? Okay, hang in there. Hang in there.
Yes.
All right. So,
Well,
shall we?
I could disappoint like majorly here, so just be ready.
Just edit all that part out. Who
But
cares?
I told you in advance, right? I warned you. I warned you. You're going to be disappointed. So
Okay, well, there we go. Okay, Doug has set the bar below zero. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions, and all you need to do is answer those questions. That's basically how it's going to work,
oh
I
wow,
think.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm on that Slumdog Millionaire show, right? Doing the $1 million questions. Do I get to
Yes.
phone a friend and
Yeah,
do
as long
those
as
kind
that
of
friend
things?
is you. Yeah, and hopefully you won't get voted off the podcast. That's my goal for you, Doug.
Yeah, well, one of these days.
Okay, so let's get to your questions.
This is so
Now, these questions could be the truth or they could not be. I don't know how truthful they are, so feel free to correct me in any shape or
So
form.
you don't know the answer to these questions?
Yeah, I probably do.
Yeah, I think you probably do, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Does one of them have to do with cutting my finger off to play bass?
It's not one of the questions, but you can use it as one of the answers. That is one of my favorite answers.
Okay.
You were inspired to write The Actor after watching Titanic. Be honest. Was it the iceberg, the romance, or Leo's haircut that moved you the most? And go.
Wow, that's kind of interesting when you say that, because I don't know that it was so much the theme of it, but it was that I really wanted to. I love the movie business, right?
Right.
And I think seeing that executed by James Cameron, like in such a stunning manner,
Yeah.
really kind of said, okay, you got to get down and write your book. You got to get it done. Like you got to kind of go and do it. And so that, if anything, that's probably what pushed it.
Yeah.
But I love the DiCaprio and Kate Winslet's, how they built that. I thought that was kind of a cool. And then when they did the 25th anniversary of the Titanic, the documentary, I was kind of blown away by Cameron's desire to get that movie built, like done, created, because it was like he went and literally like rented this reservoir in Mexico. They built a whole replica of the actual boat, and before he had a movie deal to show it what he was creating. And like I'm going like, well, first of all, like that's kind of crazy, because that's not how I was raised. Like to go out and make risks
to go to Mexico and build a boat.
That's right, build a boat in a big reservoir, and in the last podcast, you had said, we kind of talked about, I think I called it no risk, no gain,
no reward.
No reward. And I was amazed that someone had that kind of daring. To just, and I think it happens all the time in this business.
Oh yeah, it has to.
But it kind of blew me away. So when you go to the Titanic, that's kind of what about it. But a little snippet of this though, because I don't think we've talked about this either. But yes, I wrote The Actor. It's first book. I love it. I'm so pleased with how it kind of came out. But what's really interesting, and I think I've shared this, I went down to kind of sell this to make a movie out of it to one of the studios, and I stayed at your place. You accommodated me. You toured me all over the place. It was great. It was real fun. But when I was there, we landed we took me over to Redondo Beach. And it kind of was like surreal, because I think I started the book based on you going to California.
Ooh, nice.
And I thought, how interesting, like you were down there doing your thing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody else did that. Like none of our friends kind of stepped out and did that. And you literally left everything. I don't know whether you were inspired by the high school trip you took with a couple of our buddies, but like that's where you wanted to be. That's where you knew you had to go. And I'm pretty sure that's how the beginning of The Actor started, was pulling that kind of, not because I talked to you to know what it was about. It was all fiction. But it was that whole idea of going to, and Redondo Beach always sounds good to me. So what a verbose answer.
So that was a good answer, Doug. Well done. Wait, there's more. Stephen King's constant reader notes inspired you to write. If you could write a constant listener note to your podcast audience, what would it say? And go.
I probably would like to phrase the constant listener. I like that kind of phrase. You kind of have to be a constant listener in these
Yeah.
podcasts because they are extended.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that would align this, and I don't know whether I'm going to be able to coin a phrase here, but I think what's really interesting about the long form podcasts is you reveal yourself, and there's a certain truth that comes out.
Right.
And yes, King writes fiction.
Right.
And in the early days, like that's where I kind of gravitated to him. There's a certain truth that comes out in fiction. And I think that's what King captured in some way that grabbed his readership. And that's kind of what I'd like to think of this podcast is about. Like that's why I said it's called Better Than Not, because it's as we wear each other out in the conversation, we start to reveal ourselves because we all have this persona that we want people to know us as. Not that we can kind of write it down to say it, but we all have this in our sense of, this is how I want people to see me.
Right.
And I have a feeling that it's rarely accurate. But when you're in this format and you're like, we're kind of like, there's like, it's literally like sitting in a coffee shop alone having a conversation, even though you're in California and I'm up here in British Columbia. But as you start to talk about things, I think you reveal things that you have no idea you're revealing just because it's kind of that intimacy of conversation.
Right.
And that goes back to the King thing. It's a gift to me.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the problem that he gets to be so popular that kind of seems to get messed up in the persona of how media wants to present you.
Right.
So go back to the question you said, constant reader notes. How would I term? I hope that people get from the podcast. That's why I termed it Better Than Not. Is that it's better to do something than to do nothing.
Correct. That is a good answer.
And I think that's to me part of what this is all about is just getting out there and like part of the reason why I like to have such a variety of guests is because there's so many interesting things that are out there, and wherever you kind of fit in, whether it's a science world, whether you're in the comic and entertainment world, books, authors, pretty much it. I mean, going right through to I'll say the Bible and God and spiritual matters. All of those things, I think they matter in some way for most of us. We just don't necessarily have the tools on how to, and if Better Than Not can help people to understand that, I think that's kind of fun. But what I am very surprised with this is I can't believe how much fun I have doing this.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, we've got 300 questions, so let's get to them. Here's question number 3. You once wrote an 800-page manuscript. What was more difficult, editing that down or explaining to your friends why you willingly wrote that many pages?
Well, I think part of the thing that comes out of that
Stumped them.
when I go to part of what, and I go back to, as you mentioned in the second question about Stephen King, he inspired me in many ways just because, and whether it's true or not, I'd love to have him on the podcast actually.
Yeah, get him on the podcast. Why don't you have him on the podcast?
Shout out to Stephen King because I think it would be very interesting. Because you got a person here was inspired, read a lot of material, but he used to say I would write 3 pages a day or 4 pages a day. And I think what happened for me is I got in that mode. Like I'm a pretty disciplined, consistent person.
Yep.
And if I can what I couldn't do is 3 pages a day because I had a full-time job doing stuff. But I'd get up early in the morning and I could do a page.
Yep.
And when you do a page a day for a year, you've got 365 pages, right? Do it for 2 years, you've got 800 pages, basically.
Yeah.
And I know my math's a little bit inaccurate, but anyway.
Also, I just want to interject that when he said that about 3 pages, I read this, I saw him on 60 Minutes talking about that. What he didn't mention in that 3 pages a day is that he used giant fonts. So it was only about 14 words in all that he'd type in those 3 pages. That was his workaround.
Well, I'll even add to that, which is kind of funny, is I thought I heard him in an interview, and it might have been with George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones guy,
Yeah.
that he said a journalist asked him in an interview like how he wrote and he said, I had to come up with some kind of number, so I just said this is what I wrote every day.
Huh.
And so
Pretty
it kind of
technical
like
there.
him saying that meant a lot to me, but I'm not sure that he actually followed it. But he is a voracious writer. Like, it's kind of unbelievable what he has accomplished in his lifetime.
Right. Okay, here we got another one. If the actor was turned into a movie, who would you cast as Ethan Jones? Stop, Doug. I know it's me. And who would play you in the behind-the-scenes documentary?
Oh, Scotty, what a
Excellent question.
what
Thank
an
you.
excellent question. Well, I'll tell you, it started with Kevin Bacon.
Ah, okay. I didn't see that one coming.
Kevin Bacon's too old now.
Yeah.
The guy now that I would kind of probably pick is his name's Logan.
Logan Paul. Excellent choice.
No,
I
he
understand.
was a young guy in The Fury with Brad Pitt.
Ooh, I saw
Lerman, Logan Lerman, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
just got a new role in something on Netflix that I saw. So I wish I could get your name right, but that's who that's the person that I would kind of pick out to be that role. I've gone through lots of different ones,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the one that had most recently kind of captured my thinking.
Okay, and then the second part of that question is who's going to play you in the behind-the-scenes documentary, even though normally it's you? Let's insert someone to play you in there.
Oh wow, I've never thought about that at all. You.
Aw, Doug.
There you go.
Thanks. So it's just all the behind-the-scenes stuff is just going to be about me skating. It's just me skating in cornfields under the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not thought about that. I would never have really kind of considered it until having actually doing this podcast.
Ah, okay.
And then I might well want to have a portion of it.
Okay. Okay, so basically another excellent question.
You're not
okay,
are you talking like a biopic versus like
Sure,
a
I'll go biopic. Yeah.
Yeah, so who would play that? I don't know.
I'm going to go with Brad Pitt.
Geddy Lee.
Yeah, Geddy Lee playing Doug in the behind the scenes. I love it.
No, I don't know who I would probably pass on who would be that. I would probably leave it up to the director to choose. I probably wouldn't
Okay.
Right now I can't think of who I would pick at all.
We'll put that in with AI later on.
Maybe that'll come back. Maybe they'll come back.
Yeah, that'll come back around. Okay, here we go. Mechanical engineering to novelist is quite the leap. Which profession has more unexpected plot twists?
Oh, the second.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say it's I got a chance to do a lot of things as an engineer. Like I did, and until I kind of decided that I was going to go and do, I'll say, more things like in managing and leading and stuff like that. But I think I was always kind of in the creative mode, and I think that's what I found disappointing on the engineering side is a designer's creative.
Yeah.
An engineer is kind of like a lawyer and a doctor. You have standards of which you have to meet things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm really glad we have them. I've said this before. Like airplanes. It's really good that we have standards because
you don't
want a guy just
drinking. What?
Here's my creative attempt at a plane. Yeah. But I think writing for me is just it allows you to kind of figure out what you're thinking. Like that's probably one of the biggest things that I've kind of found on it. And it's really
discovering yourself.
What's that?
Discovering yourself.
In many ways, and it's kind of like how it's transitioned into. So shout out to Max Alexander, because I would never be doing this without his kind of driving me to do it. Max owns M87. He's my agent, and he was the one that kind of said, "You need to do a podcast." And I'm
Yeah.
going like, no. And so without that, like it's kind of falls in, because I mean, we had fun in theater arts in high school. I love doing
Yep.
that.
Mr. Hindle.
And the creative part of it, I think it was always in me. And that's what disappointed me when I went into the engineering, because I'm kind of
Yeah.
thinking, like, everybody says, oh, be an engineer, be a rock star. Well, no, it doesn't, it's not like that.
Well, you know what's also really difficult? When I started in acting a comedy, I wish there was more engineering in it. So we're kind of two peas in the same pot, I think, Doug, just on the opposite ends.
Well, one thing that it does help a lot is putting, I'll call it logic, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
together. And you logically know how things kind of fit together.
Yep.
And that's a big, and when your brain kind of thinks that way already,
Yeah.
like you're it's not something you have to learn. And so when you're putting together, like, whatever it is, your brain just thinks that way.
Hmm.
And so, like, I find it's like that in writing as well, especially when you're writing fiction
Right.
that's coming out of nowhere. um Clancy was the one that said it, right? The difference between fiction and nonfiction is fiction has to be believable.
Yeah, exactly. I quote him all the time. Next question. Have you ever tried to calculate the torque required to twist a plot?
No, I wouldn't. That's a really neat question. I could like use that somewhere.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I won't say I would have mathematically calculated it,
Yeah.
but definitely, like, that thinking comes in, because it kind of, in many ways, to the Clancy thing, if you write the way you think,
Yeah.
which is not linear, it's almost incomprehensible to understand.
Right.
And so
But
often when I found, when I'm writing, like, that's what I often will tell people, like, one hint, and I said, finish, like, you got to write the whole book.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a huge stumbling block for many. And that doesn't mean that's what the book's going to be. It just means you've got a story, you got a beginning, the middle, and the end.
Yeah.
And I think your question, even though it's funny, fits into that arena. Like, because you do kind of have to. But I have never, people who have read my work might say, we can tell, done outlining. I've never done outlining.
Really?
I think it's kind of hilarious, actually, that I hear it when because it part of what I think is neat about the creative process. Well, it's not a process further. I don't that being creative is that it's not linear.
Right.
And so when you kind of sit down, and I know, like I think Toni Morrison was like this. Shout out to Linwood Barkley. Um, I think John Irving's like this. Another shout out. They don't start their books till they don't start their books till they have the last sentence of the story.
Wow.
And I've not done well with that. Like, because I usually find, how I would say it is, like, what's the story? What's the story telling me as I write it? And even now that with Substack, I've kind of moved into, like, nonfiction world. I'm still kind of going through that effort. I never start with, this is how it's going to end.
Mm.
It's usually a subject, right?
Right, right.
And then kind of, okay, where's this going to take me? It's so weird how it kind of does that.
Right, right. Okay, follow-up question. If you could engineer a device to eliminate writer's block, what would it look like and how can I invest in that? Because I think that would make you billions.
So I think it's invented right now. It's probably called AI.
Ah, nice. Love
So
that answer.
so this falls back to what I said earlier, and I think it may be tough, but you got to write, and you got to write consistently.
Right.
You got to fit it into a schedule. So I'm pretty disciplined,
Hmm.
and that fits into my arena. Now, some would say that makes you less creative, and I don't think it does. It just gets you through, because it's like we get hung up on. I think this is kind of where writer's block. I shouldn't really talk about this because I don't really ever remember having it.
Plus, the communists are listening, so be careful.
There we go. So I think that it's the consistency of whether you feel like it or not, you just go and write.
Hmm.
And you can't write without writing. Meaning
What?
you can't write in your head, so to speak. You got to write it down to me.
Right.
You can think in your head, obviously,
Yeah.
but thinking and writing are not the same thing.
No, for
And
sure.
it's like I even find it's extra neat to go through the exercise sometimes of recording what you're thinking, like just out loud,
Yeah.
and recording it and going back and trying to write that way. I've done that often,
Yeah.
and that comes out differently too. But for writer's block, um, you just write. You just write.
When you used to do that, I'm guessing it went something like, Jennifer walked down the long corridor. Hey, what am I going to have for lunch? Oh, my foot's itchy. A little bit of that, right?
That's I think where like that's kind of the way the writer's block works is that um you always get another idea that's better than the idea you're working on.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by finishing. Because
Right.
if you do that, you eventually it kind of it gradually converges on nothing.
Right.
And then
Cancels
you're
each other out. High
stuck.
school math. Yeah.
And sometimes that's why I said, like, even if it's short, just write it down and try and put it together of as far as what you're looking at. And I think you can, like John Irving, to me, his book Son of the Circus, based
Hmm.
in India, he made elephants to me interesting of a
Yeah.
circus. Like it
Yeah.
was one of the like this is to me where I see a talented person writing. They can make what's not interesting interesting.
Right.
And that's just to me, it's just you just look at different things and how they kind of come together. So I don't know whether that answers your question, but the
We're just going
writer's
to say it
block.
answered the question. It was an excellent answer, Doug, because we're moving on to the next question.
There we go.
In your opinion, which is more complex, a mechanical blueprint or a novel's plot diagram? But I think you answered that question already, because you don't ever do the novel's plot diagram.
You know what? It's like it's very. I have kind of attempted it, but when I get into it, I've already thought of 3 other things that I want to have happen.
Yeah.
So
So it's constantly changing.
that's so I'll give you a really neat thing. So I talked about all the kind of different guests we have on the Better Than
Yep.
Not. I have not had this guest or like to. So this is a kind of a shout out to Tim Mackey, who is part of the Bible Project.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of fits into the answer around the diagramming. So they've advertised for a very long time about being able to dictate into this app, which will then draw out your thoughts.
That'd
And
be cool.
so, and you can get it, like, and you can, and literally, I think they were selling it to business.
Mine, if I did that, it would just be a bunch of crickets. It would just be.
Mine might be crickets. Yeah, just like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you have crickets in your place?
Yeah, and in my thoughts.
Oh wow. And mine wouldn't even look like. The reason why I say this is because this Bible project, they've gone through the entire Bible, the 66 books, and drawn the whole thing out like that.
Wow.
It is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of writing about it right now because of how our whole postmodernism thinking works, and we make the complicated more complicated. We don't make the complicated simplified.
Simpler. Yeah.
And to me, making the complicated simple is a gift. But I think to me, universities, the postmodern idea is not to do that. It's to actually make it more complicated. And that's my next Substack article is going to be about this, right? Because we recently went to see Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
And brilliant mind, not a problem on that. And what I took out of it, what I think is so interesting about it, is it takes you on threads down roads that you don't expect.
Mm-hmm.
So to your question, when trying to do an outline example, I get into the mode where I just want to be writing it, not trying to point form it. And
Yeah.
then when I go back to point form it, it's like it seems like an unnecessary effort,
Right.
if you understand what I mean that way.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of starts to feel stale.
Right. Right.
Because it's very
Well,
much as I just sometimes like to think of it, it's a living thing to me. With it,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
this creative, it's not a physical living thing, but it's in your head. You're trying to make it alive on a page.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking you're trying to do that. That's what's trying to go on. So you go through a point form article, now you're going to go back and you're going like, this is kind of like, well, it's already been written. Now what I'm going to do with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it works for many people. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying it. If it works for you to write, knock yourself out. Like
Yeah.
I'm not advising anyone not to do that. I'm just thinking that it doesn't it's just not something that works for me. So to this point, right? You'd said about a mechanical blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the part that I find interesting, and this goes back into my early days working in like the engineering world and doing design. So I've been through the university program, done all the stuff, and one of the things that I worked with, did a lot of hydraulic work. So
Mm-hmm.
there's valves associated with it that run pistons and so on.
Fluids.
It's what?
Fluids.
Fluids, all that kind of stuff. And well,
Druids.
that's
Yeah.
what you're taking in university. You're taking fluids, dynamics
Yeah.
course. So I sit down and we're trying to figure out what kind of valve we're going to get to power this snowplow wing
Yeah.
that
The
we're
Gardem
working.
wing.
And they show me these little diagrams that are like literally, I would describe them as three squares put together, and then they have arrows in them. And the
Mm-hmm.
arrows are dictating as you move across these squares or the section of the valve, the hydraulic oil fluid will go to different places. So this is how
Mm-hmm.
you get it powered to power it up or power it down.
Okay.
All in all my school, I'd never seen this before.
Mm.
This diagram. It's literally how all valves and hydraulic system circuits are put together. But I never saw this in all the fluids courses and stuff I took in
Yeah.
university. And I don't know how you do a hydraulic circuit without these symbols of valves and cylinders now.
Right.
Which I
just
find,
want to point out at this point to your listeners that there is no quiz after this, so you don't have to worry about that.
and so you're going to comparing a blueprint to how you're figuring out the plot of a story, right?
Right.
It's like you got to have a plan, but you got to be ready for that plan not working,
Right. The valve being too small or it breaks under pressure,
and you
having
can't
to
figure it out.
redesign the valve. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I just sent a whole bunch of people away with that little explanation on hydraulic.
Let's get on to the next question then.
I warned you.
Your podcast is titled Better Than Not. What's something you've done recently that was better than not?
So I think I explained where the title came
Also,
from.
sorry, just to interrupt, because I do love the title of the podcast. I think it's great.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you. So almost every time I'm looking for guests, reaching out to someone that might seem like, oh, they won't come on the podcast. If reaching out is better than
Stephen King.
Stephen King, reaching out is better than not reaching out at all.
Right.
It's the Gretzky thing, right? You miss all the goals that you never shot.
Yeah.
And to me, that's why, like, I'll go back. I said I'd love to get Jordan Peterson on here too. There's another shout out, right?
Nice. Here,
But
let me give him a shout out.
There we go.
That'll get him coming on for sure.
That is one of the things he says to get out of bed. And I know sometimes that sounds like really weird, but like that's the first thing you got to do in your day is to get out of bed.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like it's an action.
Yeah.
And that's where like better than not is kind of inspiring an action. Like you go and do it. Like
Yeah.
just go and do it. You gotta invite Scott, the comic, your friend in Los Angeles. Would you
Genius.
do my podcast? Oh,
Right.
Scott will never do my podcast.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll do your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that just changed everything.
Well, also what's really cool about the name to me is it takes pressure off things. Because
Okay.
you
Interesting.
didn't name the podcast must be a great podcast. That just puts the pressure on. But better
Yes.
than not is it's kind of like, yeah, okay. It just takes the pressure off the situation, which to me allows you to get into the flow of things and to be able to do it. So it can translate into many different aspects of life and relationships and job.
I like how you say that. I like that's to me kind of how I think about it. Is it's just it's kind of been something in my whole life that's just
Mhm.
kind of gone through. It's just better to do that than not to do it.
Right.
And whenever I didn't, don't get the impression that I always do it. I'm often disappointed that I didn't do it. Like this comes back to that last that we did, no risk, no reward,
Mhm.
right? Like you really stepped out in that. Okay, so can we go back to that for you? Because I think it was a
Yeah.
great.
Let's get back to me.
It's a great example of. So you said in the show that you would were you sitting with somebody in the audience? Like you went out to somebody in the audience? Go through the scenario of it with what happened to you. Because you knew
Uh,
it was a big risk.
oh,
I know I'm
uh,
putting you on the spot on
no,
this,
no,
but
no. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the right one because so much of it is like just a lot of risk.
well,
Are you talking about my dad's Speedo bathing suit thing? I don't know if you know that one. That's a pretty big risk one too.
yes, I was going to say, I think,
I'll give you an example that I just did on the show on
okay,
Saturday.
yeah, this is a
Okay,
perfect example because this
yeah,
is your life.
yeah, so this is exactly, and it's really it just happened, and it was so I'm doing a show at a cafe here in Los Angeles. It's called I'll get the name in 2 seconds. Anyway, so I'm at this cafe, and the funny thing is, it's in the lower level of where Ivana Chubbuck's school is, and I went there for a bunch of time. So this cafe, it used to be in a GNC store that I used to go in there and get power bars or
Okay.
whatever like that. So I go into the cafe, and it's being produced by this guy I know, Felix, and it's got some good people on it. There's a guy named Jack Shaw, and he was on Kill Tony, and he was a golden ticket winner. There's another guy on there that
Shout
was
out
on.
to Jack Shaw.
Yeah, let's do that. Woo woo, Jack Shaw. Kill Tony. Anyway, and there was another guy that was on James Corden. He was the host. So it was a good show, and there's a bunch of people on it. And it's in this coffee shop, and it has glass all around the front. There's a door here that walks in, and there's a big window onto Melrose, which is a busy street down here. And there's people walking and everything. And it's Saturday, and the show starts at 6:00. So it's everything the opposite of what you want for a comedy club. It's got a lot of distractions. There's noise. The doors open. People are coming in and out. There is people, and they've moved the chairs and tables. So right around the front, right around the front of you is these circle of chairs, like a wagon that's been pulled up, and everyone's sitting there. And you can see their faces, and they're just staring at you, or they're on their phone or whatever. You can see any little innuendo that they're doing, like, like giving you the eye roll and some of the jokes or whatever, which is really difficult when you're trying to just focus on what you're doing.
Right.
So anyway, they have this big window, and a lot of the comics, I shouldn't say all of them, but a few of the comics, they get up and they do the sarcastic, well, here we are doing comedy in a cafe in the middle of the day on Melrose. But I always look at it like, look at it like an opportunity because I love it doing it so much. There's people here that have come here to see this.
Yes.
And the owner's here and everything. So I'm like, okay, this is an interesting opportunity. So I'm up there doing my act, and I thought, okay, so this is back to your to what we're talking about, the big swing, right?
Right. Yep.
So a lot of times in comedy, like you can take a big swing and it can be,
Yep.
it
That's
can be
the
like
risk.
that,
That's the risk.
or
Yeah.
it can be like that, right? So I'm doing my set and I go, I have this bit about saying that I used to be a professional mime and I always had super hot girlfriends. Said no professional mime ever. Oh, do the butterfly. It's so sexy. It's turning me on. Said no girl ever. And then I go, I'd like to do this mime piece that won me the coveted Marcel Marceau International Palme d'Or Award 2 times in a row, Flex. It's called Holy Shit, a Train. So I run outside.
This is during your act.
This during my act. Everyone's like, where did he go? So I run outside and I'm on this side and they have the big glass window and cars are going by and people are walking by. So I start doing mime on the street, but I do it like all sarcastically, like how mime is. And then I'm doing this and I'm doing the rope pull. And then I look down, then I look up and I go, and nobody can hear me doing anything, right? Because it's mime. And then I go, thank you. And then I come inside. So at this point, I don't know how it's going. Like I'm just like taking a big swing and it's either going to go really well or horrible. So I come running back inside. Everyone loved it. It was so weird.
Yes.
Because it's a big swing. So when you take the big swings, the payouts are huge or
Yep.
So the thing is to embrace the, and then if you're comfortable with that, then everything can be big because you're okay with it being not big.
Right.
And the thing I think too is people, I mean, you can't do that like joke after joke after joke after joke because if it's not working, because people just tune out after a while.
Yeah.
But if you're going along and you try something big and if it doesn't work so much, people will appreciate it. Like they'll go, man, that guy that's a crazy thing. I wouldn't do that. And that's a huge thing. So that was a big swing and it paid off. And then I'll tell you one more big swing time.
Better than not.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm doing this show. This is with Nikki Glaser as the headliner on the show.
Yes. Shout out to Nikki Glaser.
Yeah, shout out. Woo! She's killing it in 2025.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she's just amazing. Anyway, and she's working the jokes for the Golden Globe Awards. So it's a big thing, and it was packed. So I did it up in Pasadena at the Ice House, and it was packed, and it had a really great vibe in it. So I have this bit where, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm taking a swing on this one, because it's a full audience and the energy in there. So I start doing it, and I have the bit I can, if it's not going well, I can always just bypass this bit because it's a big, it requires some of the audience, whatever. So anyway, the bit is that I'm basically, I won't say it because it takes a bit of time. But the point being is I'm talking about my dad. When we were kids, he always wore a Speedo bathing suit. And I think we had a pool and he would just always be wearing the Speedo bathing suit. It actually, in the winter, he would tan in the middle of February. He would go down, we would go down to Florida, and he would build this solar oven. He would buy plywood and tinfoil and put the tinfoil all over, and he'd build it on we had this sort of, it was on the second floor. It was like a veranda, like a porch kind of thing that went out, but it was in the winter. Like he had to shovel the snow off it. He built this, it's basically a box. So the sun would come in, hit the tinfoil, and then radiate down on his body. And he would lie out there in his Speedo bathing suit, and he would basically cook. And he put baby oil on. Like he would coat himself in baby oil and go out there. And if you went like, you go, barbecue? Who's cooking barbecue in the middle of winter? That was my dad. Anyway, so I have this whole bit talking about my dad in his Speedo bathing suit. And then I go, but my therapist said, in order to, you must relive the trauma in order to heal the trauma. To heal the trauma, you must relive the trauma. So then I bend down and I have tearaway pants on. So I rip the pants off and throw them away, and it reveals me standing in a bright yellow Speedo bathing suit. And then there's shrieks of laughter, and I'm sure there's some horror in there too. I don't really look at the audience. But anyway, it's a huge swing, and it did really well. So yeah. So it was good. So that's basically what I'm talking about with the big swing.
Well,
yeah.
To me, that is the whole case. And if you didn't do that with having thought of it, you'd be really disappointed afterwards.
It's the same vibe of like when we were teenagers and you saw a girl.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You go, oh, I got to ask her out. Oh, I don't want to ask her out. I got to ask her out. If you just get comfortable with the no's, then you can just cruise up there and, hey, do you want to go out on Friday to see a movie? And they're like, no. Okay, thanks.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you invest so much of your thought into these, and then you chicken out, right? Like that's kind of what happens.
Yeah.
And it just just go and do it. Like just go and do it. And say, I'm not ready yet. It's got to be perfect. And it's like Margaret Atwood used to say that. If I waited till I wrote the perfect sentence, I would never write anything. That's a quote from her.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of crazy that way. And when you're kind of, to me, it's it's a symptom of the middle class. Like you don't want to risk it, right? And we're so risk averse today.
Yeah.
That it's kind of almost unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure.
So yes, I was going to say that's to me where the title came. It actually started when I decided to leave the corporate world and do this creative thing, this writing thing.
That was the summer of '69 for the listeners. I just want to point that out.
It was a little later than that, but summer of '69 makes the song sound good, right? It wouldn't work with the summer of '74, right? Like there's something about that. Anyway. And people would start to ask me why I was in social media. What, like you got a Twitter following? What do you like, or X now? Now it's X, right? And I couldn't answer it because I wasn't going into the details because the details didn't like the quantification, which is the world I come from. I don't know that it would change what I was going to do because I would still keep doing it. And people would ask me, so what do you get out of it? Like, how many books are you selling, right? Like, how many people are reading your book? Like, what do you know? And I'm going like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And I would say, but I know it's better than not being there.
Right.
And that's kind of, so Laura would pick up that and she would start to laugh at me. And she said, when she would ask me a question about something I was doing, she says, I know it's better than not. And that's that's how it got caught on.
And actually, too, Rick Rubin has had a book come out in the last 2 years, and he touches on this a lot because he's been a part of a lot of amazing records. And his main thing is it's not your job your job is just to put out the art. It's not your job to figure all that stuff out afterwards, which I think goes in hand with what you just said.
I think it really messes you up, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It really I'm talking to other people, writers and things like that will often come up. That's why I keep saying finish. Because you can I got to do this, and it's like one of the things I used to say, like, wouldn't it be great to write a sentence just once in a while that when you wrote the sentence down, you didn't look back at it and think, it needs to be edited.
Right.
Like they always do. You're always doing that.
Well, there's an interesting thing that I've been paying attention to. I can't remember where I came up or was thinking about the concept of it, but basically it's wearing different hats. So if you split down, because I have to come up with material too, so it's kind of in the same
all
thing.
The time.
But the idea is that you're wearing different hats. So what happens is you have the creative side, which just chickens, squirrels, monkeys. He just comes up with all kinds of crazy stuff. And then there's the editor that goes, I don't want to talk about chickens, monkeys, squirrels. Like that's ridiculous. So anyway, what happens is you're constantly fighting with those. And what I try and do is I just wear the creative hat, get all of that done, and then go back with the editor hat. And then, so they're not fighting with each other, because when they start fighting with each other, you don't get any product out there. It just becomes a mess, or it just becomes a blank piece of paper. So the idea is to use the creative hat and then go back with the editor hat. or just do the creative hat and then come back to it a couple days later with the edited hat, whatever your system is. But I found for me that works a lot better because then you actually get things done.
Well, what I also found as you talk about that, which is kind of funny to me, is that as you spend more time writing in this kind of thing, so whether and I don't write comedy, so like it's a bit of a different thing to me. But what's interesting is you start to get it in your head that you can edit while you're writing because
Mm-hmm.
now you've done it a
Yeah.
few times. And if anything, it goes the other way. It
Yeah.
becomes even harder.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that because that's not what we're taught in our school, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you learn how to do this better and then you can do it quicker and faster. And it's like, no, that's not like I can't skip editing. And even though I tried to do that, write that sentence down to be right,
Mm-hmm.
when I say it again, it's like, and the other thing that I find very interesting, and I found this when I'm doing a lot of book signings. So this I think falls into your performance world,
Mm-hmm.
is when I write something and then I say that immediately sends me down the editing trail
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because how I would talk and how I write are not they're different.
Right.
It's
Right.
almost like when I'm reading what I wrote, I'm constrained.
Yeah. Well,
And
it's also too, you're writing with different character voices and stuff too. So it's like you have
it
your voice and there's this character and that character, and they all have different voices with different rhythms and
well,
tones. And
this kind of came to me from John Steinbeck. So Grapes of Wrath, Mice
yeah.
and Men, East of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say you have to read all your dialogue out loud.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, I mean, you would have because I almost for sure, like as a comic, your delivery is and timing is so important too, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing for me is the way I think about it, it's music because it's
Yes.
got every element to it. It's got time.
Yep.
And then if you listen to some songs, like really good songs, like if you listen to Beatles songs, they don't have extra words in them. Like
It's
they
crazy.
follow a melody
Yep.
and it's exactly right. So after like I've been doing it, like when I do it, I'll like come up with an idea, write it down, and then I'll say it, but it's got like too many words in it because it kind of chokes off or it doesn't
Exactly.
feel right.
Yep.
Or you don't need to describe. It's like that thing when you work in an office and whatever, and guys like, "Oh, you do comedy? Oh, I got a joke for you." And then they tell you this like 5-minute joke where
Yes.
the details like, okay, so he walked down and then his
Yep.
shoelaces were brown. No, were they blue or they like it's just all this extra stuff you don't need. And you just get to whittle down to what the essence is, what you need to deliver. It's like you just want to get rid of the fat and just give the vitamins and minerals. And people appreciate that a lot more.
It's really hard. Like, just ask somebody. Like, we went to see Dune, or like we just saw The Chosen, or well, what was it like? And then they start to tell you, and then you go, "Oh, I shouldn't ask that question,"
Yeah.
because it's very difficult for people to summarize a story very
Yeah.
accurately, me included. Like, it's just, and to make it interesting, you start to find out like just how much you have to almost, well, in many ways it's a gift, but I think practice helps as well.
Mhm.
But to your exact same point, right? Like, let me tell you this joke. Oh my goodness. Okay, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to our questions.
Yes, I took you on a bit of a trail
No,
there.
no, it's all good. If you had to describe your podcast in 3 emojis,
Oh my goodness.
which would you choose?
Oh, I would come down to the two things that I kind of introduced. I'd like to think of it. I don't know what the emoji for thought provoking is, but I'm probably sure it's something like
Yeah,
this, right?
that's the one. Uh-huh.
And I think shifting perspectives, like
Oh, that emoji, the one that goes like that. Yeah.
it's like the idea that like you can not be closed-minded, as an
Yeah, yeah.
example, right? Like you're able to hear something and you go, I never thought of it that way. And
Right.
that's what I mean by like shifting perspectives, right? Those would be two. And I would like to just put in like maybe headphones
Yeah.
with someone smiling, like,
Yeah.
because they're liking what they're hearing, like,
Right. Very good.
but part of it is it's not scripted,
Okay.
and people probably can tell that because I'm so tired of scripted, and I'll call it the lies that we believe a person is,
Uh-huh.
that they present, right? Because that's how they want. This is why when I started listening to some of the podcasts, like, you can have a person on one of the talk shows for 5 minutes,
Hmm.
and you kind of learn that they have to have something to go on it in the first place, right? It's a show. It's a show.
Yeah.
And you kind of buy into that, oh, they're really like that. And it's kind of, in a way, it's entertaining, but I just find that there's a need for us, especially after the pandemic,
Hmm.
that we need each other, like, more than I had any
Community,
idea.
community.
Like, I hear that all the time sometimes, and originally I didn't like the word, but now I understand what it means, but a little bit more. And I think that from the podcast, if people can learn something from someone else, and that doesn't have to be a famous, important person. It's
Right.
just, oh, they think that way too.
Hmm.
I'm not alone.
Right.
Like, that's kind of the, like, what I'm hoped that we can, like, that comes across. But in a way, it's with intention. But in the same way, it's like, what like today, right now. You said you had a surprise for me. I did not anticipate this surprise at all.
Good. It's a surprise.
It's a total surprise. So for me, that was kind of like, okay, this is okay. How is this going to happen, right? And that's the power of Better Than Not to me. That's
Yeah.
what it's about, right?
Good, good.
So it's,
Okay.
go on.
Here's another question.
That was the 3 emoji one.
Right.
How many emojis did we come up with? 30?
I think, yeah, at least 30. A whole new emoji set. Hopefully Apple's listening. What's the most unexpected topic that's come up during a podcast episode?
Oh, I know. I can tell you right away.
Yeah.
And I love the question. So I had Dr. Tisneem Juan Carlo on.
Uh-huh.
And it's just so much of what kind of comes about with people on here. I had just no idea that I'd be reconnected with them.
Right.
So I worked with her. I'm not even sure I worked with her at Husky, but that's where I met her when I worked in the corporate world. I always find her fascinating. She's an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her PhD in, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like a neuroscience kind of thing. In the podcast, we talked about Jeffrey Hinton, who just won the Nobel Prize for AI. He's like the father of AI.
Mm.
And she brought him up like a month before he was nominated, right?
Wow.
We were really talking a lot about artificial intelligence and stuff. And anyway, get back to the question.
I've been described that way. Artificially intelligent.
What a compliment, eh?
I think. Is it?
I don't know. Is that a question?
Is what a question? The question that I just asked?
Is artificial being called that you're artificially intelligent a compliment? It's like, that's a question.
No, I was just putting it as a joke as no.
I'm turning
You're not
this
actually
around.
intelligent. Yeah.
So she asked me near the end, she said, "What are you trying to find? What are you looking for?"
Mm.
And I loved it. I loved the question, but I don't think I answered it really good or really well. I
Yeah.
guess it's the correct grammar.
More good. It was more good.
Because if I go back now, I would probably answer is, I think I found what I'm looking for.
Ah.
I'm now trying to better understand.
You should tell you too.
What's that?
You should tell you too.
Yeah. So shout out to Tisneem Giancarlo, because I think I found what I'm looking for. I'm now trying to better understand it, I guess, is the better way of looking at it, right?
Oh, that's good.
And And there's so many kind of tributaries that kind of take that in different directions, right? And trying
Uh-huh.
to better understand it. It falls into what I talked earlier about like postmodern, like we've got Jordan Peterson talking a lot. So what I'm talking about here is God. His
Mm-hmm.
newest book called We Who Wrestle with God.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a very postmodern look. Brilliant man. I love listening to him. That's why I'd like to have a conversation with him, because I think it'd be kind of really neat to understand more of where he's coming from. But it's very much a postmodern, to me, perspective,
Mm-hmm.
making the complicated more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to frame that in a way that brings it down to make it more understandable. Like a how would I call it? I'll call it an existential question of, I had nothing to do with being here. I don't mean in this podcast today. I mean being here in the
Yeah.
world. Why was I born in 1962 and not 1862?
Uh-huh.
Why born in Canada, in
Yeah.
Toronto, and not Ethiopia?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing. And yet now I feel like I'm the one who's picking pike when I go to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm the one that picks the the veggie pizza when I order from Pizza Hut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm getting to a conclusion is like there's both things happening.
Gotcha.
What we have a hard time with is equating that in our logic world.
Right, right, right.
So follow Substack, because I will be writing more about this. But
Okay, very
anyway,
good.
that was the question that stumped me. I won't say stumped me. I just didn't answer it the way I just answered it for you.
Just go back, cut this answer out and stick it back in that, do a little editing. Okay,
And
question. Have you ever had a guest completely derail your planned discussion in the best possible way? Cut to picture of me.
I'm trying to remember which one hasn't been like that. Like the one we're participating in right now.
Yeah,
Like for me, this is so fun, but
yeah.
I had no idea that you were going to come back and ask me a whole bunch of questions. So
Okay.
that's very, very cool to me. So
Well,
because
speaking of,
that's part of what it's about to me. It's like that better than not, and trying to understand what that's going to be. Like a person telling their story. Like how did you feel, like when you told me that your dad told you where you were going to live in Markham, and then you lived in a trailer
yeah,
on that lot while he built it.
yeah,
And then like we've known each other for a very long time. I don't ever remember you telling me about all the hockey stuff.
yeah,
Like how crazy is that, right? Like
yeah.
and to me it's very, when you look back, like I think of like as an example, and I'm coming back in June for Dad's birthday actually.
Mm-hmm.
And Markham today is like that dream you have when you're trying to find your home and you can't find it. It's
Mm,
like you're in the right area,
yeah,
but you can't, like it's not there.
yeah,
And for me, that's kind of Markham now.
yeah, for sure.
Like it's just there's just so much stuff that's just moved and shifted. And I guess that happens over 45 years, but it's just such a stunning amount.
Yeah,
Like when they change like where Kennedy Road is.
yeah, I know. Used to be right here.
It's just it to me those things are just like, and I mean I know it's progress and change and I can relate to that, but that's kind of how it feels. And so hearing your stories about, like, it's hard to imagine the house that you lived on as not being there.
Yeah, no, I
It's
know
hard
it's
to
weird.
imagine that there was an MDHS, Markham District High School, that we both went to
Yeah,
that's not there anymore.
and it doesn't even look like it was there because there's trees growing up where stuff used to be.
It's
It's just a field. Like it doesn't
it's
even. You
gone.
can't imagine there's a school there.
It's
There was a
gone.
school there. Yeah,
It's completely gone.
yeah,
And so to me, that's the neat part about having the conversation that you have. And that's why I said like it's one of those things that even kind of erupted from having coffees. When we moved out here to Abbotsford, we didn't know anybody.
right.
But I also, you asked about writing. What I also found is it's an alone exercise.
Yeah.
So, and I began to understand, and the pandemic didn't help this, but I started to find out that we have to be around people.
Yeah.
And we'll find conflict with people just to be around people unknowingly.
Yeah.
We would rather have a fight with someone, be conflicted with them, than not have anybody at all, even though we don't necessarily believe that.
Right.
It's crazy to me, Scott. Like
People are the strangest creatures.
yeah, we definitely are. There's no kind of question about that. But to me, those
Speak.
are all things that are fascinating that
Yeah.
has come out in our world, and we, if anything, our neat advanced technology is taking us farther away from that,
Right. For
which is
sure.
so weird to me. Like, you would think it wouldn't do that, but that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, inquiring minds have another question.
Yes,
You've
yes,
written music and lyrics in the past.
yes.
In your life, if
Yep.
your life had a theme song, what would it be?
Oh, Scott. Uh, I'm still standing.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
I think
I'm still
I
standing.
I think one of them would be something about persistence, like not
Yeah.
never giving up, like just keep
Never
going.
gonna give up.
I
Little Rick
think it's
Astley.
also trying to find out what you're supposed to do and then
Mm,
just doing it. We just watched Alone. I don't know whether you watched Alone at all. So the whole concept of the show is they have like 10 or 12 contestants and they drop them alone in like northern regions.
oh yeah. I've watched that. Yeah.
So the first one we watched, I had no interest in watching it. I said, "Oh, this is just going to be stupid." So, but of course, I watched it because I'm not of the superior mind in my marriage with Laura, and I was so fascinated with it. Like,
Yeah.
I just these Navy SEAL guys, like after 25 days, like weeping because they can't see their family, like,
Yeah.
and they're out, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no way. Like, no, that's not happening. And you
Yeah.
see it over and over again. And then you got these crazy, almost lunatic people that are like doing like a fashion show in front of the camera with the fur that came off the moose that they took.
Yeah.
And you're going, and they win.
Right.
So recently, I forget, I think it was episode 7 or 8. There was a guy named Clay in it. And he had 2 young sons. He won. And it was kind of cool. We were kind of hoping that the second guy was Biko. He was a much younger guy, and we kind of hoped he won. But one of the things he said is he discovered he was not only was he good at it, but he loved like the hunting world, like
Yeah.
living off the land, like figuring out how to do stuff. He had like built this cabin, like it was amazing what he built and lived,
Yeah.
and how he killed a deer like with the bow and arrow, amazing shots, right?
Right.
And knew how to like skin it and butcher it, everything. It was amazing. And one of the comments he said was, you find that thing that connects with you, and whether it's popular or not, you just keep doing it, because he
Hmm.
said eventually it will breed fruit,
Right.
because everybody else that's there is eventually going to quit.
Yeah.
And I thought of you,
Yeah.
and I think going back to how you that's kind of what I like to think about, um because we were 18, I was probably better set for what I should do
Hmm.
than I was maybe at 30, but I also wanted to have a family,
Hmm.
and I knew what that was going to take too, in a way, right? Like I knew I had a commitment that I had to meet up with. What's so cool for me, I find now, is I'm got to go back and do this thing.
Right.
Not that I knew it was going to be podcasting or writing on Substack or books. I didn't. But all of those things kind of count to me. And so when you go back trying to figure out, like, it's just, What was the first thing I said? I said never give up, but persistency, still standing.
Yeah, it was still standing and persistence, never
I,
going to
I,
give you
I,
up.
I,
Rick
the
Astley.
still standing kind of feels like you're a survivor, and I don't really feel like I'm a survivor. So I would kind of go back to, I think persistence is a big one, and
Yeah,
really never stop searching. Like just
yeah.
keep looking and keep doing, because it's better to do than not to do.
Doug, I'm just looking over to the audience, and this is what they have to say about that answer. Wow.
There's got to be somebody booing.
Wow, they love that. No, not in this podcast. Okay, new question. If you could make jam with any musician, oops, no, that's my bad. It's have a jam session with any musician, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh my goodness.
If you could have a jam session with any musician,
Do
living
I,
or dead,
can,
who would it be?
can I give you a few?
Yeah, please do.
Okay,
Can I give you the answer?
sure.
Geddy Lee.
So Geddy Lee would definitely be in that one.
Yes.
I think the big thing that I would for Geddy would be his ability to play and sing different things at the same time.
Yeah.
I just find
Patent.
him fascinating. And again, shout out to Geddy Lee, because I do want you on this podcast.
Whoops. No.
Um,
There we go.
Again, it's like they're one of those that just what I said about Clay. They picked something and to find two other guys that were connected with that,
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep going when like you're getting nothing out of it. To me, like and there's a few examples of that. So I think another one would be probably Elton John.
Okay. That's a good one.
Um, Past probably there's two now that fit into that, but the late Neil Peart
Yeah.
and the late Gordon Downey.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to limit this to five, and I have to put probably Ian Thomas in there.
Painted ladies in a bottle of wine, mama.
I
Playing
find
at
it
the high school.
amazing in the people that I talk to. I really want Ian on the podcast too.
Ian Thomas.
It's I think he's the national treasure
Wow.
for Canada. I
Yeah.
think he's one of the most brilliant songwriters ever.
Yeah.
And
He was like, he used to play at our high school, and
yep, yep.
He was a huge draw. Like it was really great having him at the school.
Well, his music is classic. I was just playing some of his songs the other day for our son-in-law,
Mm-hmm.
and he was kind of blown away by it, because now Painted Ladies is the one that people seem to remember. They don't
Yeah.
know it's Ian Thomas.
Yeah.
But they all remember the song. It's like Terry Jack's Seasons in the Sun, right?
Yeah.
It's that
I
same
had
kind of.
joy.
I don't know who did it, but that's that's the song. But when you go by so many Rudolph Valentino, like there's just so many songs that he wrote that are just amazing melodies, harmonies, like just beautiful music. So that's
Mhm.
the five I would probably pick.
Okay, here's a follow-up question to that one. What's your favorite karaoke go-to song? Oh, no, sorry, that's not right. What karaoke song do you put on when making jam with another musician? What karaoke song do you put on when you're making jam with another musician?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, you sing that one?
All the voices.
I want to hear you do the harmony part during that. Wow, that's
Mama,
good. Okay, we got to do
I
karaoke
just
next time when you
killed a
see each other.
man.
Yeah.
Put a gun against his head. Yes, that would. That's I mean, Wayne's World brought it back, and
Yeah, exactly.
I
Well,
just again,
also,
a remarkable piece of genius.
yeah. Okay, have you ever considered writing a musical? If so, what would its title be?
A musical. Yes, I have.
Okay.
In university.
Did you have a title for it?
At that point in time, I didn't. I probably have lyrics for it still.
Ooh.
but it would be
Did it go something like "School sucks, I hate school"? Sucks.
that might have been the
Yeah.
impetus to writing it.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be around I've got 2112 in my brain, but it's like that was pretty close.
Yeah.
But it's like finding your way, right? Like finding that thing that is true to your heart,
Yeah.
that no one sees as being you. As an example, right? Like they don't realize. It's like, I mean, like if I pick American Idol or the different equivalents, and you have this person come up on stage, Adam Lambert, there's an example right there,
Oh yeah.
and they just kind of blow you away. Like
Yeah.
you just how
You
does
just
that
see some guy walk along the street, and the next thing he's like singing away. Yeah.
And it's just like it's one of those things that like, that's not the title, but I'm not who you think I am. That's the title.
I like it. It's mysterious. Okay, here's one for you. If you could live inside any of your novels for a day, which one would it be, and what would you do?
Oh, the actor. I mean, it's a trilogy, right? So, I mean, that continues in The Musician and a not yet released part, which is the third, which will be called the reality of delusion. And that would be what I would be. And it would be Ethan and living in that world of being.
Okay, and what would you do? You could just make up a scene. Like what as that character, what would you do in that? Like, just give us a quick little synopsis of.
There's a scene towards the end of the book. I still won't give it away, but a lot of this is, that's why I said the third book is a reality of delusion. But he is an actor who's created this monster, so it's kind of pre the Joker with Heath Ledger, right? And he's accepting the award for winning Best Actor from this piece of work that he did in a movie that he was part of. And his friend, so keep your friends close but your enemies closer, that kind of friend, who wants to take him down. And the action that takes place in that Oscar theater as he's accepting the award, and as the voice comes through the PA that he can recognize, and saying that you're not thanking the right person.
You're not thanking the right person?
You're not thanking the right person.
Okay.
So there's a kind of like a love triangle that kind of goes on, and the one that is rejected is the one that comes after him. I'm intentionally being vague because I think it's a very cool scene. I think on the screen it would kind of really come up, but it's just how powerful our brains are,
right?
And how it comes together,
right.
That's the answer. How's that for an answer?
Very good, Doug. Very good. Oh no, here we go. The audience is loving it. Might I suggest, audience, you run out and get yourself a copy today. Okay, here we go. What's a question you've always wanted to be asked in an interview but never have been asked?
Oh my goodness.
Hard-hitting questions here, Doug.
See, this would be a good question to ask you because you're good with the quick replies, and I'm usually not so good as far as what that would be. It's like, what have I not
here, Doug?
been
You know what it is? Right now, you've got on the editor hat. You need to take that off and put it down, and just come up and put the creative hat on. So when we look in there, we see a big like creative logo across there on your hat.
How would so if it's like that question that says, okay, what's the first vegetable that comes to your mind? Don't think about it, just tell us what the
Carrot. It's always carrot, and
yeah.
it's always the number 7.
So I'm thinking one would be, and I don't think I've been asked this question, but is you see, I'm in the editing mode. I'm already editing
Exactly.
it. Like, how could you make how could you make the world a better place? But
Okay.
more to the point would probably be one that I liked years ago, and it was around what would you like to have put on your gravestone?
Right. Which is
Oh, I don't know that I have an answer. I just haven't been asked that question.
so 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 you're going in to pick out your plot, and the guy's there. What kind of tombstone? Okay, we'll take this granite one with the da da da. And he's like, okay, so what do you want to get put on there? You're like, I don't know, just put on whatever you guys think. What do you got a catchy phrase, or is a book or something, or a cartoon or something you could put on there for me?
I
I
think
want
I'd
to.
probably say Scott now is I'm glad I had a chance to experience this existence.
Nice.
I think that's probably what I said. I
Okay.
don't always feel that way,
Yeah.
but it's been it's been kind of neat, all the things that I've gotten a chance to do. I have
Yeah.
so many special people in my life. I married the love of my life.
Yep.
How that happened and how she's still with me.
That's what I ask myself each and every day, Doug. Get in line.
I have just two wonderful kids.
Yeah.
Oh, a big shout out. This is a big shout out. I probably shouldn't say this, but our son just got engaged. He just proposed.
Congratulations.
So that's pretty exciting about it.
Yeah.
We've got a wonderful grandson.
Yeah.
It's like all those things. I have like wonderful parents, like unbelievably are still here. Like it's just all those things. Like, and that's why I said I think it would probably be. I'm just glad I've had a chance at this existence to experience this existence because I
Nice.
had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I think this segues into the next question.
Oh,
If you could swap lives with any historical figure for a week, who would it be and why?
so I'm going to say something that's kind of maybe surprising, but I probably would say Jesus.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that's sacrilege, but it would be interesting to like he lived as a man
Mhm.
and what he gave us. So what would fit also into that would be Paul,
Okay.
Apostle Paul, because as the great literary figures of our time, Paul is never mentioned,
Mm.
and his writing is unbelievable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be kind of the
So you'd like
two,
to be Paul, and the reason why is because of his writing.
because of what he understood about us and
Okay.
how he was able to write it in a way that seems to be everything
Okay.
in a sense.
So so basically, what I extrapolate from that is insight. You like his insight into the human condition.
And I think that when I said Jesus, it would be very interesting to understand, not to understand, but to get a glimpse of what this existence is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he walked the earth as a man
Mm-hmm.
temporarily,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, I
And
think
what you're
those are
saying is you'd like to walk the world as a man for a week. That's what I'm getting out of it. That's
that's a perfect man. It's funny. I haven't really thought about that, Scott. So I'm
yeah.
kind of like, but I'm being
Another
like,
excellent question,
I'm.
I'm thinking.
It is a very, very. So this is in a way when I asked me about what question I'd been and I mentioned
Yeah.
his name. That's what you just asked is kind of fits into that category.
Right. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
good job on you, man.
Okay. Here's a really important question. It's probably the most important question. What's your favorite writing snack? And has it ever made any appearances in any of your stories? Favorite writing snack, Doug? Curious minds want to know.
So the problem here, Scott, and this is a bit, people would call this OCD,
Yeah.
probably, but I can't eat anything while I'm touching my computer.
What? This is crazy talk, Doug. Not
No,
even
so
Oreos, not even like Haagen-Dazs,
if
something
I
crunchy.
if I have something in my hands, so I don't no, I don't think I've ever had ice cream or frozen yogurt or anything like that. But
Huh.
chips, peanuts, any of that kind of thing,
Yeah.
as soon as it's in my hand, I gotta go and wipe my hand.
What about an IV? An IV drip that just goes right into your arm.
No, I
Oh,
do have an IV story, but not about me. But that no, it's
okay.
yeah, nothing's got to that role. So I don't that I'm sorry that pizza would be good.
Yeah.
Pizza would be good, but I've not done that either, right? But
Okay, this next question ties in with this in
okay.
what you're talking about. Do you have any unusual writing rituals or superstitions?
Oh,
Got
that's
to
a
be
good one.
something there.
That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Well, I think one of them is writing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty well. I remember coming down to see you, and I brought my
Yep.
computer with me,
Yeah.
and you thought it was like a brand new computer. Um, that would probably be one of them, is trying to write and trying to read every day.
Okay.
Like those are the two that I think are really big
But
for me.
but do you have any weird stuff like okay, the computer it's got to face north every time I'm writing, or do I can't the chair has to be the color orange or anything like that, or the cat can't stare at me or anything like that, or like I wear funny socks or anything like that?
I probably go out of my way to do all of the opposite to that.
Mm. Which is don't worry about that. Don't do any superstitions or
I feel like I can write just about anywhere.
yeah.
Um, I mean, when I say write, often writing isn't just a story.
Right.
Like that can be doing often it'll be like a post. Well,
Yeah.
Substack's around now, so I'm always kind of jotting down ideas about that.
Yeah.
And
But
when
you
I
don't have to use
read,
a special pen or anything like that. Special paper or
so right now when I'm writing with a paper, I'm primarily using one of those Bic mechanical pencils, the
yeah.
plastic ones. That's what I
Yeah.
use pretty much all the time now.
One of these things.
Yeah, it's clear
Similar.
though. It's
Yeah.
clear, but
Yeah.
it's like that in pencil. I always write in pencil. I'm back and forth on when I'm reading, always having a pencil or something to write notes on as far as that goes. But I can't say I really have any rituals at all. In fact, if
Okay.
anything, um, I have found that when I got my perfect space, then I go somewhere else to write.
Say that one again. So when you find your perfect space, it doesn't feel right, so you go somewhere else to write?
That's right. It's like
It's too good to be true.
it's well, here's these are silly examples, but it's when you I remember us buying a canoe years ago. And when we after we got our canoe, we kind of stopped canoeing.
Uh, so it's more the pursuit of it than the actual doing of it or
It
the
is. It's like I do think there are things that like so I'll go back to hockey, right?
yeah.
Because I was gonna that's what I was saying, like what you remember, which is like what I thought you would say and what you said are completely different. Because I didn't know you had that early, really like strong encouragement from your
Yeah.
dad. Sounded a little bit like the movie Whiplash,
Yeah.
except you're a
Oh,
hockey
also,
player.
and my dad made us drum every morning. I forgot to mention that part.
That was the beat that you had to
Dad, I'm
skate to.
tired.
But I was going to say for hockey, I can remember getting my first pair of shin pads for Christmas.
Hmm.
And we were going to my mom's family for Christmas, and I had to take the shin pads with me.
Mm.
And so little things like that I would hold on to like tight. And that's what I thought there'd be a memory. Like I just loved equipment,
Yeah.
like for hockey, right? So kind of weird. And then when you get it, then you don't necessarily do it anymore, kind of thing. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, I hear you.
I don't
So
know
you
that.
find a great writing spot, or you think this is going to be a great writing spot. You're thinking, you sit down there, and all of a sudden, it's like the energy just drops off there, and you got to go somewhere else.
Yep.
So
Yep.
therefore, you probably never really try and go after a great writing spot. You just go, this is where I'm going to write anywhere.
That's been like that I think part of it came from Scott is I would write before I went to work.
Oh,
So I
right.
kind of had to write anywhere. And
Yeah.
often, like, I could be in boring meetings.
And the grapple grommets are going to go in the quarter panel towards the back of the unit, and you're just like writing up stories.
And I would get an idea or something and I would jot it down, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just kind of how it kind of worked. So and I've always kind of been like that. Like
yeah,
even
yeah,
like for years it was lyrics, right?
yeah.
And you could just like you come up with an idea and then you jot something down, you work it down. So like I have tons of those notes still around.
Hmm.
The only thing is sometimes it's hard to go back to them because you're always looking for that new thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I get you. Actually, that makes kind of a lot of sense. Okay, question. If you weren't a writer or podcaster, what alternative career would you pursue? And I know the answer to this. The daily clue is Rickenbacker. Ladies and gentlemen, your clue is Rickenbacker.
It's funny you said that because like there's never enough time in the day. But I've been thinking recently about it'd be neat to go back because there's so much electronic stuff today, like that you could do on the keyboard and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That it'd be neat to go back and write some music because like I think there's so many like cool things that are available, and I thought
Yep.
if I could squeeze a time somewhere, that's probably what I'd be kind of looking at doing. I
Hmm.
like when I wrote The Musician, right?
Hmm.
And I think that was in a way kind of an alter ego for me
Hmm.
because there was in our time, I was really focused on playing an instrument or singing. And while I wrote The Musician, it became very apparent that being animated as a lead singer
Hmm.
would have been a really interesting part for me.
Yeah.
Just because I mean, theater arts, I love theater arts. I
Yeah.
love that part of it. But to your point, like the whole better than not, it allowed me to reach out for that. Because I can remember, I think her name was Miss Serreris.
Yeah. That sounds familiar.
That was the one. And I can remember telling her that I was going on to do like physics and science,
Yeah.
and she being like visibly disappointed.
She just kept going, boo, boo. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, no, she was cheering. Oh, I don't have to deal with you anymore.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
I can remember that, and I can remember like a lot of fun in theater arts. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in many ways, it was I like that's why I said the better than not part come. Um, it's that whole performance anxiety,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I wish.
Well, I remember when you had your band, you were you played bass and you sang and you played keyboards and sang.
Yes. Yep. Well, that's because that was kind of like that was like the whole Rush thing, right? Like that was like
Yeah.
you kind of emulate who you see.
Yeah. That's what my clue was with the Rickenbacker, because you had a bass Rickenbacker
Yeah,
glue.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that
Closer to
was
the heart.
and that was a big part of my musical kind of world, right? So, well, because I can remember trading Craig for Darkness on the Edge of Town and Farewell to Kings.
Mm.
Like, who would ever do that? And I just couldn't believe that three guys could create what they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was like you've heard the Over Metaphor. I wore the needle out on my record. I guess we don't do that in Spotify days today, but it's like that was that album for me. And so that became my projection of what music would be. And it was only through a lot of reading The Musician or writing The Musician that it became very apparent that there was an inner side of being that lead animated Freddie Mercury, Gordon
Yeah.
Downey,
Yeah.
Robert Plant, Stevie Tyler. There's so many of those, and I could have play acted my acting, right?
Hmm.
And I so that's why I said something. What was your question again? What would I prefer to do if I wasn't writing, right?
Yeah.
Or
Or
podcast.
podcasting.
And so that still sits kind of in my head that it'd be kind of and it would still be neat to, like, I have still a ton of songs, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that are around, and I've kind of disconnected myself from that
Hmm.
just because it's like it's the time of the day. Because I'm reading is a huge part of my world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I find that sometimes I don't even get enough time to do as much of that as I'd like to. So,
Right. Right.
but the podcasting part has become so fascinating to me
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's so neat having like these conversations. Like, when else do you do this,
I
Scott?
know. And it seems legitimate too. Like you're not going to sit down in a
Seems
coffee shop. People are going to like look at you. These people have been here for a while. Why are they still talking?
See,
Order some coffee and leave.
part of the coffee, having coffee with friends when we moved out here and getting to know people was I will get in a conversation and like an hour and a half have gone by, 2 hours have gone by, and like
Hmm.
no one's saying, well, I gotta go.
Yeah.
So that is kind of where, and this is where like Max told me, he says, you're the only client I have that I can't get off the phone in 15 minutes. So my reply was, so I talk a lot.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that's not what I meant. But, and I just, it's just kind of a weird thing. And that's kind of where it started to really like be how badly we need each other. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm stunned by it, Scott. I know this sounds weird, but I'm just blown away by this whole thought of we can get by on ourselves alone. And I'm going like, well, you can,
Yeah.
but is that how we kind of
It,
flourish?
it's
Like,
like, what's the quality of life you want?
like really, I mean, there's an element in there that doesn't meet the fulfillment of life's requirements to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, and like having this, like, yes, technology here, like it'd be great to do an episode with you here in the studio.
Oh, what would we talk about?
I don't know what we talk about, but it's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like here we are, and this is why I find this so almost so many that start in an episode would say like, there's no way I'm going to talk to you for an hour.
Right.
And then they laugh at 1:45.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm
Where
going
did the
like,
time go?
it's just why is that? And I think a
Yeah.
big part of it is that connection that we need with each other. And a huge part of that is obviously happening in a two-dimensional visual with audio.
Yeah.
And the next step is, and that's for me, is trying,
Teleportation. Let's go.
if you can teleport here, that'd be great. It's just, I think that there's having the in-person ones they're just another level to it. Like
Yeah.
there's things that you get that we're not even so aware of, like that
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
become part of it, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, but it's like it's better. It falls into
It's
that better than
better than
not.
not.
You've got to go and stretch it out a little bit, right? Like
Yeah.
people say, you sit in front of a camera or a screen and talk to a person for an hour.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like it's kind of a gas, actually.
Yeah. What will the neighbors think? Okay, Doug, here, I've got the final question for you. So
Bingo.
you can rest easy after this. What is the square root of 7,331,1200? No, here's your question. Can you share a fun fact about yourself that most of your readers or
Oh.
listeners would not know? Can you share a fun fact about yourself that most of your readers or listeners wouldn't know?
Okay, this might be this might fit into the couples counseling mode, but Laura and I literally almost every night, this is our time,
Yeah.
will, and we're pretty disciplined about this
Yeah.
because like our TV does not go on in the day.
Yeah.
We will watch a show for 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our kind of time. We'll share, might have a snack or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're usually trying to pick something that we both like. Right now, we are between the season 5 of Yellowstone and Alone season 9, I think. And it's unfortunate, but we watch. Kevin Costner's another person I'd love to have a chat with. I think he's
Yeah.
one of the most. The cool thing to me, again, I don't know him, never had a conversation with him,
Mm-hmm.
but he invests in his work.
You mean as an actor, or
Yes,
he
like
buys
he
himself nice
he
boots?
spent Mel Gibson does the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They put money into what they're creating.
Right.
And that's kind of fascinating. And you think of how many things Kevin Costner's an actor, and he's won his Oscar for being a director.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's up with that? He's in a band. He plays in a band live, and having Yellowstone it's been very interesting. But I'm finding season 5 extremely depressing.
Okay, but what's something about you
Oh, well,
that you haven't shared? What's that?
what Laura and I watching. You want something just me,
Right.
just me.
Something that people don't know about you.
Oh,
Some little tidbit,
I
a
think
fun fact.
this comes back to what I said at the beginning, like being disappointing. I love to read. Um,
I'm guessing a lot of people probably know that you like to read just by doing the math alone.
I think if you're following the podcast, you'll probably find that I have it's become a very big part of my life, and that is my spiritual world,
Okay.
which is so weird to me, but at the same time, it's definitely has gravitated to my, like, I study the Bible daily.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe what's in that ancient text. It floors me. So that would be, but if you watch the podcast, you probably know that already, because
Right.
I've had
Right.
some very interesting guests that are like scholars, like and pastors that just have such an interesting way of viewing what. Well, you knew I went to church pretty much when we were growing up, right? My
Mm-hmm.
family was at the Anglican church. But what I thought of that then was it was just very hypocritical to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't stand like that. I just found that wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started writing and thinking a lot about stuff, um, and it really kind of started to happen where our son Zach suggested that I watch the Joe Rogan show.
Mm-hmm.
And I winced and said, the guy who's the Fear Factor host? And, and Zach went, he says, Dad, give the guy a chance. And I watched him talk to Graham Hancock,
Okay.
who wrote Fingerprints of the Gods. So archaeologists do not like Graham Hancock because I think he pokes at their world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why aren't you investigating this? No aliens. There's no aliens in this.
Aw.
No, sorry. I tend to be out when we start talking aliens, but what came out of it were things like I've written about this, like precession. I won't go into what that is, but like there's pyramids all over the world, not just
Mm-hmm.
in Egypt. They're in Mexico and Peru, and I'm going, how do I not know this? This is all in this book. So that started me. Then I saw, I can't remember the order of these, but then I saw, I'll say Mark Burnett and Roma Downey did a series on the Bible
Mm-hmm.
on the History Channel. They took
Mark
it.
Mark Burnett, the Survivor guy.
That's the guy.
Yep.
That's the guy. Which kind of surprised me. Like this Navy British secret guy creates the Echo Challenge. He does this successful show, The Survivor. Why is he doing the Bible? Like that, I got curious about it. So I watched this. I started to watch this series. The kids gave me the thing, and so what happens is they do the Old Testament in 4 hours, so 4 different episodes, and the New Testament in 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I watched, and they told the Abraham story about Abraham's going to have descendants that outnumber the stars, the grains of sand on the beach, and Sarah's barren. I'm sure you know the story, but many know the story. So what do they do? He's been told he's going to have descendants that outnumber all this. And Sarah comes to him and says, well, I can't have babies, so you need to go to Hagar, my slave handmaid, which was at that time appropriate for an heir, and get your heir. And so Ishmael's born. And then, of course, Sarah is given the ability to have a baby, and that's how Isaac's born. So I'm watching this, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
I know this story. I've grown up with Sunday school and all that, but I'm kind of blown away by the fact that this is exactly what us humans do.
Mm-hmm.
We might be told something like, this is what you should do with your life, write music and perform, but that's not going to make me any money, so I'm going to go and be an engineer. Same kind of thing, right? We solve our problems.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we know what kind of a mess that ended up being. So I see this, that opens my eyes. Then I watch Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He's done this series called The Psychological Aspects of the Biblical Stories. It's 12 lectures, Scott, that are 2.5 hours long. He only gets through Genesis.
Mm.
So this is what started to percolate. There's a lot of stuff I don't know here that I need to kind of start to understand. And then that's kind of how it all started to break out. So that's not like a little tidbit of people, but if you've been listening to the podcast, you probably know that. And
Right.
I'm answering this question the way I probably would want to answer it. I'm answering this in the theme of better than not.
Gotcha.
So
well, there it is.
Good question. Great
Good
question.
Good question again. Wow.
Did I surprise you with that answer?
Yeah, a little bit.
So, touche.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Touche on you, sir.
So that's very cool. So that was the last question.
Yeah.
Wow, you got me, man. You totally got
307 questions.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say there were a fair number of questions. Good questions, man. You thought of so what's Scott doing in Los Angeles? I know you're doing stand up. You got stand up coming up, right? More. You're doing it all the time.
Just working on that.
So you got shows coming up.
Yeah, I just booked one in June 29th at Comedy Chateau.
So give some details on that, because this will come out before then.
Okay. If you're in Los Angeles area within, say, 2,000 to 3,000 miles.
And want to see a Speedo.
Yeah, it's in, if you want to see me in a Speedo, and it doesn't have to be at the show. I do private shows. And
where is it?
It's the Comedy Chateau up in the Valley. And it's on the 29th.
So that's June 29th?
Yeah, I believe it's the 29th. Check my calendar. Yeah, 29th. But I'll probably have a couple of shows before then too. But
you don't have anything else that you can shout out.
I just finished like a bunch in a row. I don't have any. They kind of come in cycles,
Right.
And I will have some, just just check with the government, check with your local government to see when I'm performing next.
You were given the award of King of Culver City.
Yes, I gave that to myself. So I wanted to. I really love living here, Culver City, and I just wanted to celebrate the city. So I made this video about all the places in in Culver City, and put it out there. And I reached out to the city council at the time, and the mayor at the time responded, and he lives a couple streets over from me. So he has some functions that happen, like they have Screenland 5K run. It's pretty fun. They have it once a year, and it shuts the city down here. And there's thousands and thousands of people, and they dress up like their favorite characters from a movie. And they go and then they run a 5K, and then, it's like everyone meets up and blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
wow.
So I perform, I come out and sing on stage. I just lip sync to my song, King of Culver City. Yeah. And I do have, I did a video for it. I shot a video for it, which kind of gives you a glimpse into,
You've posted it.
yeah, what's happening here in Culver City, and people can always check it out on there. It's pretty fun.
So that's the essence of Better Than Not right there, reaching out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you were also in a recent magazine article.
Yes. Give me a second here. What? I have it right here. How convenient.
There, that's cool.
So, yeah. Let's pull that back a little bit here.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is our house here. And we have these bunnies. They're cement bunnies, and we put them all over the front lawn. And we dress them up in seasons. Like we just had Easter, so they had bunny ears on them and little eggs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the idea behind this was the Gothic called it's a famous painting, and I tried to work that idea there. And we have a dog, and we tried shots with the dog, and we tried a bunch of different shots, but that worked out as the cover shot. So they're going to send out what's that?
How the heck did you get that one?
I think Carol reached out, and Dara is a little bit known here because she won season 12 of MasterChef.
Oh.
So yeah, so they wanted to send out a photographer, and I used to do photography, and I wanted to do kind of a fun family shot like that. So put it all together, and then we have shots inside of the King of Culver City, Dara winning on MasterChef.
Oh,
and
that's
then
cool.
Carol has her food blog, and then Elena does. She's an artist, and she does different. Actually, she just the company Rivian.
Yes.
Yeah, so she was just commissioned by them to do a big sort of a quilted wall panel, and she just did that, and it was. I think it's in their Palm Springs office. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So you got a few shout outs to do. So Carol's got a blog.
Yeah, Carol's got a food blog, and she teaches food, like she teaches cooking here at our class. Years ago, Dara was actually on MasterChef Junior the first season.
Wow.
And after that was on, I wanted her to keep going with the cooking and sort of the social media side of things. So I turned our kitchen into a little studio, and we shot 12 episodes of Dara the Bow Girl. And then it got picked up by DreamWorks TV, and they shot a bunch of episodes. And so then we transformed it over to Carol, and she does she teaches cooking classes, and we're just in the process of moving it to online cooking classes so people all over the world can cook with her. Yeah, and she's doing really well, and the students really love her, and she gets all these 5-star reviews, and yeah, it's kind of blowing up for her.
You posted a bit about being the husband of a
exactly. Yeah, so it's like a 1-minute TikTok video. I throw those, and Instagram, I throw those up every once in a while. And the concept is, I don't know if you guys ever have gone out to dinner or eaten with a food blogger, but before you can start eating, it's like they got to take a whole bunch of pictures from different angles, and you're trying, okay, move the fork over here. Okay, don't put the straw in. Okay, put the straw in. What about a napkin? Get your hand out of that photo. So it's a parody of that.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was
really just watching it myself this morning. It's pretty funny.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, dude.
There it is.
Wow. Woo-hoo. Well, you got me very surprised. That wasn't the Leafs game. Do you pay attention to hockey at all?
I don't. I just through my brother. They're a huge Leafs fan, so I just kind of get what's going on with them. My big thing is Formula 1 car racing. That's what I follow.
That?
My big thing is Formula 1 car racing. That's what I follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they've got a few races under their belts so far this year.
Yeah.
Is Hamilton going to ever win another championship?
I don't know that they have the car this year, but in 2026, the regulations are changing around a lot. So it should theoretically balance out the field, or at least throw, because Red Bull has just dominated in the last so many years. McLaren's starting to dominate now.
Oh wow,
Hopefully it'll reset everything. And then Ferrari,
is back there.
they've got money and support for it. So hopefully they'll come up with a really amazing car, and Lewis will win the 8th world championship, and he'll be the first time ever, because right now he's tied at 7 world championships with Michael Schumacher.
Cool.
So he wants to break that, and I'm sure retire, because I think he's 40 now, coming up on 40.
He's one intriguing character, that guy is.
Oh yeah, he's a really interesting guy. Yeah, and
He's
just brings it. Right, go ahead.
I kind of reminds me a little bit of Gretzky, in the sense that Gretzky's almost the least kind of person that you would think would be the greatest hockey player ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there's also a dynamic. There's kind of twofold, because a lot of the drivers are just drivers, but
yes.
he's more of a driver and a personality, and he supports some really good causes around the world, and he's constantly working on those. And that's what I really like about him. He's like a gentleman of the sport. But they're all the same once they get on the track. It's just like, kill or be killed.
It's more than ever, I would say, and this is what you see in athletes, period, but how those gifts that they're given kind of translate into driving cars now. Like, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. But it's also difficult too, because you can be a great driver and not have a great car.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a combination, and it's an interesting sport because there's only 20 seats available as of now. They're adding some more with Cadillac. But anyway,
really?
yeah, so it's a very specific sport. There's X amount of drivers. They're very good. It's hard to get new seats, and to stay in it as long as he has and do well, it's just phenomenal.
It is.
Let's go, Lewis.
Phenomenal. There you
Yeah.
go, man.
Yeah.
He'd be an interesting guy to talk to. I watched him on Letterman, I think.
Yeah, he's been on all the big talk shows.
Which is very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I think, as I said before, I probably should wrap this up, give you some more of your afternoon back. This has been kind of fun. A little self-indulgent probably for me.
I'm glad you made the real commit to kind of fun. You didn't want to go all the way to, it was fun. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I was taking the garbage out, and I thought I'll do the podcast, so I just did that.
I wonder it'll be whether oh my God, he's done a podcast on himself, and it's like, and no matter how many times I say it, they'll never know that I did not know what you were springing on me. So
you mean when you forced me to come up with those questions yesterday, or I wouldn't be on the podcast?
That's right.
Oh yeah, I wasn't supposed to say that part. Sorry.
No, well, I can edit that out. I have the power.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all going to be me doing this.
Anyway, don't forget to check Scott Stewart out on June 29th at the
Comedy Chateau
in the Valley.
Comedy Chateau. Yeah.
He's going to want you to check out his wife's food blog.
Yeah. I'll give you some addresses for it too. So
yes,
I'm on social media at Scott Stewart Comedy. So it's at SCOTTSTEWART Comedy.
And that's on that. I know that's on Instagram
and TikTok. And if you go to YouTube, I have kind of all the shorts organized there, where they're just, all my little funny things.
No, that's cool. That's worth actually visiting, because it is pretty funny.
Yeah, thanks.
It's there's some real hilarious bits that you have in there that it's funny how it's neat to have that in YouTube, right? Because they'll never go away, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's what we'll be known for them.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And does Carol's food blog, is it like Carol somebody, or is it?
So go to thisisyou.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is you. That's catchy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And she also has You Can Cook, and her last name is UYU, so it's thisisyou.com or YU Can Cook. Either one of those will take you to the same place.
I was going to say, you can have a lot of fun with that last name.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, I was going to say, this has been kind of a fun, very different twist to an episode. So,
Surprise!
well, you'll have to share with me what you want to call it.
Call it Me, Doug.
Me, Doug. There you go. Anyway, with that, I hope you've enjoyed listening to this particular podcast, which I had not anticipated would be answering questions about my world. But it's always great talking with Scott, and we learned a little bit about hockey in his early life and what it was like in Markham. So with that, I hope you kind of take a look at it. Is always almost better than not to do something rather than not do anything at all. So I hope you enjoyed it, and tune into the next episode. Bye for now, Scott. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.